Hey everybody, how you doing? It is late January 2024 here in the great state of CT. I hope everybody had very nice holidays, Happy New Year. So we're back getting into the kind of routine, or actually this is the, after the holidays it kind of slows down because there's really not much going on in the landscaping world right now. So I get a chance to do some work on organizing. There's always some organizing in my shop. And there's also usually some kind of an equipment purchase, which I'll show you in a minute, that I'll usually do during the winter, and that'll kind of give me a chance to kind of get things set up. And then I do have several pieces of equipment that need attention. I mean, they've needed attention for years, but I'm trying to kind of get back into things. And, I really do enjoy working on the equipment, and I think I've been putting that off for a while. So I'd like to see if I can take advantage of the winter and do some long needed work. The first project I started this morning was, this is kind of sad, was trying to put a new tube in this tire. And this is a 2.8, 2.5 to 4 tire. I've never done a new tube in a tire, but this tire is off my Rubbermaid service cart, which I'll show you in a second. What happened was this tire kept getting flat, so I put air in it, and then I'd go to move the cart around the garage, and like it would be stuck because the tire would be so flat. So I was debating whether I wanted to just get solid casters and replace all the pneumatic casters with solid ones, or replace the tire. And I'm sure this is more me and my lack of experience than, poorly made rims and whatnot. But, I started this, and after about 10 or 15 minutes, I was like, let me just get solid casters. So this is the Rubbermaid cart. I made a video. I'll put a link down below, or I'll try to put a thumbnail here to link to it. But I bought this. This is a medium-sized Rubbermaid utility cart. And I really do love this thing. I got the pneumatic casters, as you see here, because I thought I was going to be using this to wheel my chainsaws out into the yard, and I was doing more milling back when I got this cart, and use it for bringing my milling supplies around. But this is basically turned into my cart that I keep all my wood blocking over here. And then I have all the wood blocking over here, and I keep, 2 jacks on it. I've got a smaller jack, a little 20-ton jack, and then, the wheel chocks. So the cart usually sits over here, although that may change. But basically, it hasn't been going on the grass. And I really do love this cart for that use to have. I don't have a lift, so if I want to work on the cars, I know all my blocking is here. Like when I jack up the Honda, I have to put one 2x4 under the wheels and drive the Honda on it, and that'll give me enough room to put my jack under. I love these jacks right here. This is called a power built jack, so it's a bottle jack, but it's also got a way of locking. So with the Honda, it's got pinch welds that are just like a half an inch lower than my jack. So if I put a 2x4 underneath the front tire, and drive up, I can use these jacks to jack it up and then lock it. So I'm not jacking it, then putting jack stands under the car, taking the jack away. It's a little bit slower initially, but it's somehow more efficient. So I really do like these power-built jacks. But so all that stuff is going to go on this cart. And the other thing I did, you see this piece of wood over here? I just did this a few days ago, is I got a piece of 3/4-inch plywood, and I just cut it a little bit smaller than the top, and I had to round off the corners a touch because the corners are rounded on this cart. But that way all the weight gets pulled to the outside, so it doesn't cause the middle of the cart to bow. I was bow. I was noticing the cart was was starting to bow with the weight of the jacks on it. So that's another thing I did. But yesterday, before I tried to change one of the tires, I went to Harbor Freight and I purchased these two casters to see if they would fit. And then I went to Tractor Supply and I purchased this one caster to see if it would fit. And, this morning I figured I would try to change the tire and see if I could do it, and I couldn't. And I'm pretty sure I could still take that tire to a shop that knows what they're doing, and somebody could change it and bend the rim back. But I just get so tired of putting air in these tires. It's gotten to the point with this cart that I've had trouble pushing it so many times that I think of the cart and dread having to put air in the tire, because every time I moved it, I'd have to. So long story short, I got these casters. These are actually overkill. This is rated for like 800 pounds. To get a tire this big at Tractor Supply, I had to go up to 800 pounds. I mean, they had other ones, but for whatever reason, I really like these red tires. So this cart is going to be set, until the day I break it. So this is a 3/8, and I think it's a number 2 Phillips, and it's made by Williams Tool Company. This I got from my grandfather. So this bit is actually older than I am, and I've had it in my toolbox for years, and I was just thinking about organizing my toolbox, and I was like, I should put these in storage, so if I ever need them, I can get them, but I never use them. But if I didn't keep them in the open, I probably wouldn't know I had them, and this was the perfect tool. Like, these screws are really tight, and to use a regular screwdriver, you couldn't get the torque. It's really cool, using a tool that's older than me and works just as good, if not better, than a new tool would. I did, after the holidays, pick myself up a US General full bank service cart, and it's right next to my vintage late 80s, early 90s Craftsman tool cart. And I just want to say, sometimes I don't feel right buying stuff at Harbor Freight. Like, I admit, it seems like some of their stuff is cheap. But this cart, I mean, I'm sure it could be made better, but for what I'm doing, I really can't see any way you could go wrong with this full bank service cart. Just what a lovely way to store tools. And in my home garage, I'm in a 2-bay garage. I really don't know how much bigger you could fit in a garage like this, because it's deeper. I don't know if you can see the depth of the Craftsman. It's much deeper than the Craftsman, and these drawers actually come out all the way so you can get to them, whereas my Craftsman, you don't notice these things until you start looking. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it comes out all the way. But and sometimes in the ads, they'll show people rocking the drawers, and it's like, I just can't. I don't really have any of these drawers like super heavy yet, but I mean, they all seem to work. Here's probably my heaviest drawer so far, but it's like, if you pull from the middle, like, I've never once opened one of these drawers and been like, oh, what a piece of junk. I've always been like, this is cool. And I know some guys are frustrated, and I thought I was going to be frustrated with this thing, but you just get used to just grabbing it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised in 10 or 15 years if this thing dries out and breaks, but, so be it. My sockets are usually up there, but I'm going to maybe not move all of them down here, but I'm going to move most of them down here. And there's something called an Ernst socket rail, which is like a little tray that's got 2 rails. You can either pick up the tray or you can unlock each rail individually and just take that rail with you. But but that's not going to happen yet. But my thought was to put just one set of, half, 3/8, and a quarter, metric and standard. If I have a 6-point set, go with the 6-point set, and still keep, backups or 12 points on the wall, and kind of work with this. And the reason this happened was because I wanted to make that cart more of just for the jacks. So like I had a set of screwdrivers I kept on it, and I kept all these ratchets on it. And I just was getting tired of kind of walking around, so I figured I'd get one of these. And I initially thought I would have this kind of rolling around or move it to the edge of the garage if I'm working on something, and I may, but I mean, this is a heavy piece of metal, which is good. I don't mean that in a bad way, but like when I got it back, I did a video about my Dingo battery, which I'll put here somewhere. I had to replace the battery in my Dingo because I wanted to use my Dingo to lift the pallet off the truck for this thing, and the Dingo wouldn't start because it didn't have a good battery. And so I used that cart to push this onto it while it was, I took it out of the pallet and just pushed it off the back of the bed with a blanket under it just to get it in the garage because it was supposed to snow. And so again, that cart is so handy, you never know what you're going to do with it. But to get the thing from the top of that cart down, I mean, I basically put ramps, and even, I had my wife and my son helping, but I didn't really feel good about, even with 4 people, trying to monster this thing and put it down without it accidentally falling on somebody. What I'm trying to say is I really do like this cart, and I could see maybe like just putting 2 of them next to each other and using my old Sears one for less used things. And I just would really like to, like I have like my file drawer here, but then I also have my alignment tools and some chisels and some punches, and I think this is a brass punch, and I just would love to kind of get things to the point where each drawer has a purpose and is a little more organized in this. So this is my, this is a bolt extractor, this is a bolt extractor, this is a gear wrench bolt extractor, I'd love to get a little more organized. I'm in like a constant circle of organization. Like I'll organize things and then be like, oh, I could do better. And I just keep kind of like going around in this circle. So this is a big step, and just getting this here is good because now my mind is thinking of how I'd want to organize it. And for what it's worth, obviously ratchets, obviously wrenches, obviously pliers. I have a box over there that's all my brake tools. I want to do one drawer for just my brake tools. I have a drawer over here, which is all I use for oil changes. I want to use another drawer for oil changes. And then in the bottom, I put my most used stuff. And, I've got my vacuum pump, my little hand vacuum pump. I've got a set by Gear Wrench, which is all like Allen head and Torxes. This is my Lyle fluid stopper set. I use this quite a bit. And then this is just some, cheap Amazon kit, which basically has plastic panel remover tools. I ordered that and one by OTC the same day, and the OTC one was out of stock and never came. Sockets, wrenches, pliers, brake stuff, oil filter stuff. So I've still got, and then I do have the power drawer, which is somewhere in there, and I do have impact sockets, which I'd like to see if I can get them in over here, although obviously this power drawer is going to fill up sooner than later. But so that's pretty much already filled up. But what's in there is is definitely stuff I'm going to use a lot, and it's going to be nice to be able to get right to. My goal with the cart and the organization and even this tool cart, again, was to basically make it so I can bring a piece of equipment, leave it right here, and work on it over the winter, and just have plenty of space to work on things. And so, like, if I bring my Bobcat in, which is about as big of a machine as I could get in here, I could always move, this tool box out of the way and put it over there somewhere. I've got everything opened up over here. And then I did a year or two ago, I bought these fluorescent lights. So I've got 4 fluorescent light fixtures with 6 bulbs each, and there's 2 ballasts in each of these fixtures. So normally I just have 3 bulbs at a time, to light general lighting in the garage. But if I'm working on something or going to be in here for a while, I'll put all the bulbs on, although there's some starting to burn out already. But that way I got plenty of light. I can't stand working in dark environments, and I can't stand working when you basically just can't see. It's just, and especially like in the winter, if it was snowing out, there's no sunlight. So I try to have a way to make enough light if I need it, but then not as much light if I'm just walking through or something. Over my workbench here, these are 2 infrared heaters that if I'm just going to be in here for a little while, these are both 2,000 watts. And I think there's you know what, I'm not even going to take a guess, but there's so many BTUs per watt or something like that. But, these 2 heaters, if I leave these on for 15 minutes, if I need to come in and do something, I can do it without freezing my butt off in the garage here. And I really do want to get one more of these for over here as well. But when I bought these, electricity was much cheaper, and I'm not in here, 8 hours a day. I'm working a few hours at a time, maybe 2 or 3 days a week. It depends what's going on, but it's nice to have the ability, to come into a garage in the 20s with no light in the middle of the winter can be tough for me. And on the same note, I installed this over here and that over there, and then I put a little switch over here, so it kind of helps to cut down on the shadows. I don't know if you look at the workbench. I'm not sure you see a difference or not. I mean, it probably took me about 6 hours worth of running some wires around to get that done. And I basically did this because I was, I figure if I'm working on something, it'll cut some of the shadow out, but it really is nice to have that light coming, from the side to cut down on some shadow as well. So I find if I'm working at the workbench, I kind of like that. I've got 2, they're 60 watt equivalent LED bulbs. Those are just 800 lumens each, and it's just enough to cut the light down a bit. Again, if I'm just coming in doing something quick, but if I'm breaking down a carburetor or working on a chainsaw or something, I think those are going to be really, really nice to have. So I'm not sure how much of that I left in. I know I got kind of rambly there, but there's a lot of stuff going on that I kind of like to get done, and it's half. It definitely needs to get done. Everything I showed you needs to get done, but it's also just like I enjoy working on things, and every project I showed you is a little bit beyond what I've gone to before. But over time I've learned that if I take my time, I can get out and go a little farther, and it's to me fun. So. The key is time. I know I'll get at least one of those things done. Thanks for watching, guys. Probably not going to get much out of this one besides me rambling, But hopefully we'll come back with something a little more concrete soon, and I look forward to seeing you then. Take care.